This is Dream Power Radio, the place where your dreams turn into reality. Here is your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Hello, and welcome to Dream Power Radio. This is a place where we talk about dreams, both daytime and nighttime dreams, and how you can use them to make the internal shift to a life you love and rediscover the truth of who you really are. Do you remember the first time you woke up realizing that you had a dream? Did it scare you, amaze you, make you wonder if you were the only person in the world to have strange images while you were sleeping? Did you get excited about going to sleep the following night, hoping for more wonders the next time you put your head on your pillow? I felt that way when I was a kid. As I got older, I let that part of me slip away until events led me back to dream work about 15 years ago. And now I realize that the more I learn about dreams, the more I wish I'd paid more attention to them when I was younger. Who knows where I might have ended up? But perhaps the universe was right in keeping me in the dark for so long, because it led me here to be with you on this show that's dedicated to helping you see the wonders of dream work. Still, it would have been fun to take the Wayback Machine back to 1983, when a group of people fascinated by dreams got together to provide a space for people interested in dream work to gather, do research, and simply share their own experiences about how dreams both shaped and changed their lives. They founded the Association for the Study of Dreams, now the International Association, and since then, according to their mission statement, have set out to promote an awareness and appreciation of dreams in both professional and public arenas, to advance the application of the study of dreams, and to provide a forum for the eclectic and interdisciplinary exchange of ideas and information. I've been lucky enough to attend several of their annual conferences in recent years, and I've stood in awe at the knowledge of the experts who have spoken there, some of whom have been guests on Dream Power Radio. I've always wanted to meet one of the IASD greats, Kelly Bulkeley, and ask him to be on the show. But I was a little shy to go up and introduce myself to him. Well, I finally decided to kick that shyness to the side and ask him to be a guest. And to my delight, he said yes. And now I'm so excited to get my chance to talk to him about dreams. Kelly is a past president of the IASD and has dedicated his career to broaden the public's understanding of the importance of dreams through his decades of research and his writing. Among his new books is The Scribes of Sleep, insight from the most important dream journals in history. And with that, welcome to Dream Power Radio, Kelly.
Oh, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Oh, it is my pleasure, as I've made very clear.
Yeah, no, and I know we've seen each other like across the halls and across meeting rooms over the years at the conferences. So yeah, no, it's good to talk.
It's like, and now you see who I am. You remember the first time you had a remembered dream?
Yeah, oh, sure. I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. And yeah, well, we're getting right to it, aren't we? It was a childhood home, and there was an image of a burning angel in my front, the hallway of our house. Intense image, very vivid. That was about it. But as a 4-year-old, I was like, whoa, wow, what's that about? Yeah, so that was an initiatory dream, I suppose, looking back on it.
Did you tell your parents about it, or were you?
I bet I must have, because it was so weird. I don't remember any follow-up conversation. I would talk to my parents about when I'd have a bad dream, a nightmare. I'd wake up and I'd be upset or something.
What made you decide to study dream work?
Oh, it wasn't until later in sort of teenage years, early 20s, when a series of recurrent nightmares just demanded my attention. I've been very much focused on the outer world, and as I later came to learn, these nightmares were a call to pay more attention to the inner world and to aspects of myself that had not been actualized or individuated in my waking personality. It was not a smart career move. It was not something anybody was suggesting I do. It was just a very strong sense of calling, that this is something that's important. And the more I got into it, the more I realized I had some of the skills that I developed in other arenas were going to be helpful if this was something I wanted to do. So here I am, 40 years later.
And were you there at the birth of the IASD?
Spiritually, but not physically. I was in college at the time, an undergraduate, and just getting excited about dreams and reading about dreams. So I think it was part of the ferment, the mid-'80s ferment. The first conference I went to was 1988, which was the fifth as a grad student. And 2 years later, the seventh, I was the host of the conference in Chicago, the seventh conference. Still as a graduate student. My wife was pregnant with our first kid. So that was a crazy initiation into the IASD, but very much, I mean, immediate sense of community. Like, oh, here are the dreamers, or at least here's one place where the dreamers are gathering. They're hard to find in this society.
Did you find that like you weren't alone, and there were people out there who had the same?
Yes. Oh yeah. I felt so excited and validated in some ways. Like, hey, I'm not the only one. You know, wherever at schools, I'd always been kind of the only person interested in dreams, and here were, you know, hundreds of people, all from all, like you say, these amazing experts and people whose books I've been reading and articles and research. Now, I immediately got into I don't know what to say, a conflict, let's say, with Stephen LaBerge and some of the people that liked his work, because my first conference presentation was a kind of a intemperate graduate student critique of his book, Lucid Dreaming. So not saying that lucid dreaming doesn't exist, but that the way he was presenting in that book, I had some issues with, and I didn't expect the response I got. Some people really liked it. Some people were really shocked, as I recall. So right away I got like, it's like, oh, there's a conversation here. And this is the thing, like to be part of a community of dreamers, it's not like everyone's holding hands and singing the same song. No, we have really we're different people. We have different views of things, different angles into the broad world of dreaming. And that's doubly exciting. You know, it's like, wow, I can really learn from these people. And share my ideas and see what people think and deal with the feedback.
Well, that's it. I mean, if you've never been to one of the annual conferences, it is amazing how many different people are there to present different talks or papers or presentations. And it just runs the gamut from very serious, hardcore scientific data to very spiritual, out there things. So
yeah.
Quite a variety of things. But Kelly, it's very interesting. You mentioned the year 1988, the year you had your first conference attendancy, because I went back and I found an article that you wrote back in 1988 in which you postulated that we were at the birth of the dream movement.
Yeah, that was.
So do you believe that in the past decades, this movement has come to pass, and that you could actually say that we're now in the golden age of dream work?
Yeah. Well, I do. That was a very enthusiastic article. I do remember that was a Dream Network Bulletin article. I was in grad school. I was so excited. It was the birth of my dream work movement, maybe. I mean, that's when I look back on it. It was kind of a like the opening, like, wow, look at what's possible. Look what's possible in this field. And being in conversations and working with people like Jeremy Taylor, Montague Ullman, Robert Bosnack, people who really were Gail Delaney, Patricia Garfield, Kaplan Williams, John Van Dam, Stephen LaBerge even. There were a lot of people at that, right in those kind of mid-late 80s, who were helping, what I'd say, translate some of the psychological knowledge of Freud and Jung and some of the sleep laboratory research, combined with cross-cultural things that we've been learning in much more detail through the 20th century about how different communities, different cultures through history have really thought about dreaming in different ways than we modern Westerners do. What the people in the 80s were doing with the beginning of the IASD was, I think, a very valuable service of helping this outburst of new knowledge about dreaming that was in these different academic fields and bringing it to the community, bringing it to ordinary dreamers and helping them access some of these amazing insights about our dreaming selves. So yeah, that was an exciting time. 40 years, let's call it 40 years later, 35, 40 years later, I think it's, a show like this. There were not shows like this, your show around back then that what is it? That's crazy.
I have to say, I'm not the only one either.
You're not the only one. This is the thing. So on the one hand, I'd say, yes, the dream work movement in the sense of broader awareness of the multiplicities of dreaming, the many dimensions of dreaming. I think that is really spread in valuable and healing ways, I think, for many people. Now, things have happened in the intervening 35, 40 years that I certainly didn't predict. I'm not sure who else would have, but that are interesting and new developments with the study of dreams and the place of dreams in the world. So, yeah, there are new challenges, different from maybe in the 80s, kind of getting the idea of dreaming into public awareness in a more engaging way, but we have our own issues now, for sure.
Yeah, I was also thinking that during the pandemic, there was another big interest in dreams.
Yeah.
And people were recalling, I guess, because they were sleeping in more, just were able to remember their dreams more. People like Deidre Barrett did studies on pandemic dreams, and it seems like that's also awakened a new interest in the public in general about dreaming.
Yeah. No, the pandemic certainly had that impact, and research that I've done, and actually, when I finish our conversation, that's the task of today, is finishing a project I've been working on with a colleague called 2020 Dreams. And we've been looking at a collection of dreams that people gathered during the year 2020 that included, and what we're finding is it was not just the pandemic, although the pandemic was huge. It was also the murder of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement. There were environmental catastrophes during 2020, wildfires in the West, in particular, with the dreamers that I was working with. And then the election, the US presidential election, all of which, as the research in this project is going to show, really amped up people's dreaming, really amped up people's attention to dreaming, awareness of how dreaming isn't only about our personal concerns, but also relates to broader things going on in the world that matter to us.
Very, very much so. And I'm going to cut you off here because we do have to take a short break. We are speaking all about dreams with Kelly Bulkeley, and we'll be right back. If you're not pleased with the trajectory of your life, the time to begin your own personal transformation is now, and your dreams can help pave the way. How? By tapping into your unvoiced confidence. What is unvoiced confidence, you say? It's the acceptance of your abilities and qualities. It's a state of mind coming from liking and even loving yourself, and feeling free to say or do anything you want without concern for the judgment of others. You were born confident, but may have had it chipped away little by little by the negative self-beliefs you've picked up over the years. If you're looking for the heightened energy, clarity of thought, and the feeling of being more alive that comes from self-confidence, you can rediscover it by paying attention to your dreams. Need some help doing this? Go to my website, thedreamcoach.net, and sign up for my complimentary dream discovery session. I can help show you how your dreams can help you return to the confident person you were always meant to be. Again, go to thedreamcoach.net. thedreamcoach.net.
Welcome back to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Yes, welcome back to Dream Power Radio. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, and we're talking all about dreams with Kelly Bulkeley. Well, Kelly, you're talking to me about this research project you've been doing about 2020 dreams, you called it. Was there anything that you found surprising in the data that you developed?
Well, I shouldn't. My editor wouldn't want us to give away all the goodies quite yet. So the interesting thing is, I'll give you a tease, but it's cool. It's an all digital project, so it's a book equivalent. Stanford University Press has a program in digital humanities, and 2020 Dreams is one of the projects part of that. And we found, I would say the correlations between people's personal dreams and collective phenomena, things like a pandemic, things like a widespread social justice movement, things like natural disasters, political strife. These things impact our dreams. And our dreams are not just passive mirrors, they're also active responders to what we're seeing and what we're experiencing, what's happening around us. So each of the dreamers that we look at, there's a group of 10 that we focus on. Each of them has their own story, their own journey through that year. And there is a bigger interesting finding. I'm not going to go into it, but I'll just say that we took all of the dreams, all 10 people's dreams from that whole year. And then we had for every day of that year, Associated Press news reports. And our team, we have some tech people on the team, created this amazing system to identify correlations between news reports and dream content. That the results, I think, are fun and sort of push kind of ideas about how to use digital technologies in the study of dreams forward in ways that we think are important. So.
And were all of these people already active dreamers, or did the event prompt them to dream more?
They were already active dreamers. The project started sort of by accident. I mean, I wanted to track a group of people's dreams through 2020 just because of the election in November. So it was actually a group of people, mostly women, who have great experience with some sort of spiritual practice, meditation, yoga, astrology, spirit work of different kinds, dreaming. For this project at the outset, I wasn't looking for like the average person on the street. I was actually looking for people who had already trained introspective skills and to kind of see how would their dreams respond to the 2020 election. And then we get going, it's like bam, 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 all these other things start hitting. And so that's what we're working with. Yeah. So
okay, well, it's very exciting. When is the book coming out?
Hopefully end of this year sometime. Today I'm working on the final revisions, today and the next couple of days. So we're getting there.
Okay, we'll be looking forward to it. One of your other missions of dream work is the creation of the sleep and dream database. So can you talk to me a little bit about that and the origins of that?
Yeah. Well, it started in some ways with my criticism of content analysis and the Holland Van de Castle system. And this goes way back to sort of graduate school and concerns about overly quantifying dreams and thus losing some of the spirit, some of the integral subtle meanings. But over time, I found maybe some of these tools could be useful if they were refined a little bit, tweaked a little bit, and addressed to different kinds of questions that people like Holland Van de Castle were asking. And so with Bill Domhoff's help, Bill Domhoff at UC Santa Cruz, and he and Adam Schneider created the Dream Bank website, a database that I learned how to use. And over time, I realized, hey, there are some things that I'd like to be able to do that this Dream Bank can't do. So I found some helpers, tech people, to help me create a system that would include sleep and dream data. Both Dream Bank only has dreams, and I think that sleep data can be interesting as well. So it's an open access archive of dream reports from contemporary people, from psychological studies, from historical studies. I think there's some Harry Potter dreams in there. There's some other fictional dreams, and then a word search system that enables users to, for example, look at, how often do animals appear in this set of dreams, or how often are there mentions of sadness, or how many architectural references. And there's kind of preset, there's a template that already has a bunch of words loaded in that can give you those analyses, and then compare them to what we call the baselines, which are a collection of several thousand most recent dreams, more or less average dreams, dreams that people had last night or the night before.
Who are the people who contribute the dreams?
Overall to the database, the whole shebang? Variety of sources. Individual dream journalists who have shared their dreams with me. They're interested. They believe in science and research. Surveys that I've conducted, other people have conducted. Other researchers who have gathered dreams and with the permission of the participants have shared them with me. So there's multiple sources. And we're working on it right now. I've got the three guys who are running it. Two of them are living in my house right now, right downstairs here. And we're spending every day working on it, fixing it up, making it better. So yeah.
So what are the types of things you say you can really break it down into very specific categories? So if you wanted to know about dreaming, having a dream about animals in a color that scares you, you could those things, and you could get a bunch of dreams that relate to that.
And you could how many men between 45 and 55 who live in Texas and have a college education have dreams like that. Yes. like we don't have as much data that you probably wouldn't get an answer. There probably wouldn't be anything in the database that would answer to that query. But those are all the factors that you could be asking about. And there's lots of ways to explore things. I'd say the strongest signal that we get when we do this kind of research involves relationships. That people's relationships in waking life, we can see through these kinds of digital tools evidence of that pretty clearly. So if you're closer to your mother than your father, your dreams are probably going to have more references to your mother than your father. And it doesn't matter if you might be living with your father and your mother might be on the other side of the country, but if you're emotionally closer to your mother, you'll probably dream more of her than of your father. It's not. This is the thing about dreams. I talk to them sometimes. They're more like poetry journals than like newspaper articles. They're not describing kind of what happens in your life. They're kind of reflecting on what's meaningful in your life, emotionally, interpersonally, for your health, for all that. So yeah, so one thing with the database, I'd say we've really found like, wow, we can learn a lot about human relationships by studying dreams.
But the dreams themselves are just an accounting of the dream. There's no analysis or interpretation of the dream itself.
Not as part of it. No, that's for the user. that's for and it's a resource. It's not meant to tell people what their dreams mean necessarily. It's just a way of exploring and bringing these things in a place where everyone can access them.
And can anyone access it?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of wonky and nerdy, and that's what the guys are helping me fix, is make it more, user friendly. And that's good. That's important. That's part of the goal. I was not trained as a tech person, so this is a long-term project of personal development to kind of learn how to do this myself. So we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, it may be the nerd in me, but I find it fascinating just to read different dreams, and just even as a creative process. I'm reading this. Oh, that's interesting. I could write a little story about this, or this relates to something that I've gone through, and it's just a fascinating thing just to look through.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. You're just browsing. Yeah.
Okay, I want to turn. We have to have a little bit of time left. But I just wanted to turn to another area of your research, which has been about connection of dreams and religion. And I understand your new book coming out, The Spirituality of Dreaming.
Yes.
How does that touch on religion and dreams?
Yeah.
I don't always see them being connected at all.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. That is, I've got a busy publishing year coming up with all these projects that are finally coming to fruition. Yeah, the spirituality of dreaming talks about exactly that, about how dreaming, not only through history and in other cultures, as we know through research, but right in the present day, dreaming is a powerful source for spiritual growth, insight, and healing, depending on how people, understand spirituality, whether it's in a formal religious context, like, Christianity or Judaism or Islam or Buddhism or something like that. Or a lot of people in America, at least, consider themselves spiritual but not religious. They don't feel comfortable in any institutional organized religion, but they have very strong feelings about the importance of life, the meaning of things, ethical commitments, connection with how they understand the divine. Dreams are powerful allies for people in almost any of these circumstances. And it's not that dreams, I don't know, are proving that God exists, but that dreaming is a way in which each of us tries to make sense of life in the biggest context in which we can. And it's almost inevitably leads into, whether you call it religious or spiritual or philosophical or existential directions. But to me, that's where really people get excited about dreaming. Like there's healing powers, there's insights about relationships, there's all these other things. There's also this kind of portal to the cosmos, this opening to metaphysical dimensions that we we know are important, and yet our finite human minds struggle to grasp. So dreams help us in that.
They certainly do, and certainly the connection between dreams and spirituality, I think, is very clear. It connects us to our source, whatever that source may be. I'm not quite sure about the connection to actually organized religion. Organized religion, I think, sometimes tempers dreams.
Truly, and that's a whole other topic. But there can be tension between organized religion and dreaming. So but there's also power in dreaming in that regard. So,
well, there certainly is, because dreams connect you to who you are, your basic self, and that gets you to talk about, well, who am I and where do I come from, which gets us into the whole philosophical area of spirituality and such. So very much so. So I just want to finally end with this question to you: is if there's any last words that you want to leave our audience with about dreams, importance of dreams? Oh, definitely. I mean, we're living, we talked about going back to the 80s, and here we are at the 2020s. There does seem to be a sense that we're living in a time of extreme crisis, of apocalyptic fears, of disasters and catastrophes, and problems seem so intractable. And I would say this is almost exactly the time when dreaming is most important, not just personally, but culturally. And this is really the argument of the book Spiritual Dreaming, is that we need dreamers right now. We need our dreamers to step up and share their visions, share their imaginings, their views of alternate ways of making sense of things and acting and changing. That's what dreams have always been about. And we're at a time in our collective life when we need all of that we can get. So I really feel that if there's ever been a time when dreamers should feel confident that they're needed and their visions are needed, this is it. Absolutely. Well, Kelly, how can people find out more about you and your work? They can go to sleepandreamdatabase.org. That's where all the action is. I have a regular blog I write for Psychology Today, so you can see what I'm writing in Psychology Today. I have an Instagram account. I'm starting to put stuff up there, so fun nature pictures and dream quotes. So yeah. Terrific. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for being on Dream Power Radio today. Yeah. Oh, thank you. I very, very good time talking with you, and I'm happy you're doing the show. Yeah. Thank you. Well, we've been speaking about dream work with author and researcher Kelly Bulkeley. Hope you've enjoyed today's program. If so, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Until next time, this is Debbie Spector-Weissman saying, sweet dreams, everybody.
You've been listening to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman. For more information on Debbie or to sign up for her newsletter, go to dreampowerradio.com. This has been Dream Power Radio.